So I just completed Stephen King's Fairy Tale, his latest, most recent novel. This is going to be a spoiler-free review slash recommendation video. I had spoken with some people that had read this book, and I read some of the Amazon reviews, and I noticed that a common criticism of this book was they thought it was too slow. They found it boring. They thought it was too much of a slow burn. And I have to tell you right now, I don't understand. Stephen King is a freaking genius, all right? Everything that is in this book is essential. Just trust the king. He is going to take you on a journey. The writing in this, the narration in this was, it was amazing. It reminded me of Jules Verne. It reminded me of Edgar Rice Burroughs. Stephen King, I don't know if he got inspiration from the following, but I felt that this story was very reminiscent of the 10th Kingdom. It was very reminiscent of Narnia, of Chris Colfer's Land of Stories. It was a love song to anyone that grew up on Grimm's or Andersen's fairy tales or has a love of mythology. This book was fantastic. I really believe that it's a true masterpiece of fantasy. This is not your typical Stephen King novel. So maybe that's another criticism that people had. This very much reads like a young adult novel. I would say the age range on this is probably like 13 or 14 if you're mature. It's not too gory. It's gory in parts. You know, but not your typical Stephen King, like in your face gore. It is just, it's very tastefully done. But you could tell at points he was like, you want gore? I'm going to give you some gore. Here we go. There are 3 parts to this novel. There is the slow, what people might have considered the slow burn, where you start off in the ordinary world, right? And it's kind of a mystery. Second part is when you enter the other world or the fairy tale world, right? Third part very much reminded me of Hunger Games or the movie Gladiator. It was expertly written. I enjoyed everything about this. When I say Stephen King is a freaking genius, I absolutely definitely mean it. This is the US edition. I think on Amazon they're selling the Canadian edition. I'm not sure, but that's what I've heard. But I managed to pick up a US Made in America edition, which I really liked. All the illustrations at the chapter headings are wonderful. 2 illustrators are responsible for the illustrations in this book. I can't remember their names right now. Forgive me. I will put them in the description. But they're gorgeous. And he thanks them in the back of the book. I thought this book is so touching, right? I have a German Shepherd, Coyote mix, right? So if you're a dog owner and you love dogs, this was, again, like a love song to that. He really understood the bond that is between a pet owner and, you know, and their loyal dog, right? And I loved it. I will include one minor spoiler. I don't really consider it a spoiler, but if you're an animal lover and you are concerned with Stephen King pulling some kind of like trick, like I'm going to murder the dog horribly, don't worry. The dog is fine. It is a fairy tale. It has a happy ending, okay? There is a happy ending, and Stephen King is like, I'll give you your freaking happy ending. You got one. It is fantastic. I mean, Stephen King is, anyone that's ever read his work knows that when you go and read a Stephen King book, you're in for a ride, right? And this is very much a ride. It's not typical. It's not a horror novel. It's not meant to be. It's kind of a blend of a fantasy mixed with science fiction. There's kind of a nod to like a metaverse or something like that. I have his Dark Tower series. I haven't completed it. I've only read the first one, Gunslinger, and I put it aside for I'm sorry, Stephen King. I put it aside for Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time series, which I know he doesn't like, but I like it. But I am going to go back and read the Dark Tower series because I'm kind of wondering if there's any parallels, and I really liked Gunslinger, so I definitely want to read, more fantasy by him. And so if you've read Dark Tower, this might be similar to that. It might not. I'm not sure yet. I will at some point finish his series and do a review on that. But this is absolutely fantastic. You just need to trust him, okay? You need to trust that everything in the story has a reason for being in it. The narration is beautiful. I found the language beautiful. He almost borrowed from Ernest Cline a little bit in Ready Player One, where there were so many nods and winks to the reader, right? With fantasy and science fiction and H.P. Lovecraft, just references to old movies and, Paul Newman, and it's very nostalgic. And if you're an older reader or you appreciate older things and older works, mysteries, horror novels, he mentions them and you're just like, Stephen King, I love you. Thank you so much. And Stephen King will probably never watch this video, but if he does, please know that I love you and you are fantastic, and I consider this book a masterpiece. So thank you for writing it, because I'm probably going to read this once a year. It very much reminded me of Narnia, and I love it. So you have my gratitude. For anyone that hasn't read this book or considers it a slow burn, give it another shot. Trust the king. He knows what he's doing.